I installed the doorbell camera because our neighborhood app wouldn't stop posting about porch pirates. That's what I told my husband, Jude. I said it was about packages, safety, peace of mind. It was also, if I'm honest, about the feeling I'd been ignoring for months, the one that makes you stand very still in your own kitchen and listen for something you can't name yet. At first, the camera was boring. Leaves, neighbors, the mail carrier who whistles old soul songs. I forgot about it most days. Jude didn't. He joked about Big Brother, rolled his eyes when the app pinged while we watched TV, asked if I had to record every sneeze. He said it lightly, but his hands went tense when he walked past the lens. Jude works in sales. He's charming like a radio jingle, catchy the first 20 times, and then you start to hear the repetition. He used to bring home silly trinkets from client visits, branded mugs, a cube-shaped stress ball, once a truly terrible pen that leaked blue confetti. Lately, he brought home silence, the wrong kind, the kind that doesn't rest, it hides. Red flags in our house were beige. He took late calls, he showered the minute he walked in, he laughed at texts, then turned his phone face down with a casualness that felt rehearsed. I told myself grown men are allowed to shower and laugh. I told myself trust isn't a cage. I told myself a lot of kind things that bent exactly the wrong way. On a Thursday that smelled like rain and reheated pasta, the doorbell pinged while I was on the couch. Motion detected, the app said. It was 11:16 p.m. The video loaded a frozen frame. Our porch, Jude's coat, a flash of someone else's hair. I stared at the paused moment and felt my breath do that elevator drop. Then I pressed play. He didn't kiss her. That almost would have been easier. He leaned in and touched his forehead to hers like they were sharing a secret only their bones could hear. She laughed into his chest, small and practiced, the way people laugh when they've repeated a scene. He brushed a crumb from her lip. She said, "Next Tuesday?" He said, "Next Tuesday." Then he unlocked our door, turned, and mouthed, "Good night, B," like the letter. She walked away in my sweater. I watched it twice, then a third time, without sound, as if silence might give me a different answer. I didn't run outside. I didn't make a midnight movie. I set my phone down on the coffee table and folded my hands in my lap like I was waiting for a piano teacher to tell me which notes to play. Jude came into the living room, rubbing his hair with a towel, cheeks pink from the shower. He smelled like the soap I buy when I feel generous. He looked at me, looking at him, and said, "What?" "Nothing," I said. Most lies are small. This one slid past my teeth like it had been there all along. He fell asleep fast. I didn't. I lay on my back and watched the dark climb the wall. People think adrenaline makes you frantic. Sometimes it makes you still, like a cat under a chair waiting for thunder to decide whether it's serious. At 2 a.m., I got up, went to the kitchen, and opened the junk drawer with the warranty folder and the rubber bands and the pens that only work when you don't need them. I took out a small notebook where I write the corners of things, the title of a book a stranger recommended, a recipe I want to try, the license plate of a car that ran the stop sign last winter. I drew a line down the middle of a clean page and labeled the columns guess and no. Guess, he's cheating. No. A woman called B stood on my porch wearing my sweater and touched my husband like something that belonged to her. Guess, it's a fling. No, next Tuesday. Guess, I'll lose my mind. No, I'm breathing. I can write a list. I can choose. The next morning, I kissed Jude's cheek, poured coffee, asked about his day. He said, "All hands at 3, dinner with a client after." He looked relieved when I didn't ask for details. Relief is its own confession. At lunch, I walked to the bank. I opened an account with just my name on it and moved my direct deposit. The teller asked if I wanted a new debit card immediately. "Yes," I said. I liked being the kind of person who could answer quickly. After work, I went to the hardware store and bought a second deadbolt, not to lock him out, to feel what it felt like to hold new keys. I brought home Thai food, Jude's favorite, and watched him eat. He kissed my wrist and said, "You're the best." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because I could hear the echo of every time I accepted crumbs and called it a meal. Tuesday came like a dare. Jude wore the shirt he wears when he wants yeses. He left at 6:40. The doorbell pinged at 6:41. I didn't need it. I already knew what I planned to do. I cooked. Real food, complicated on purpose. Roasted chicken with lemon under the skin, potatoes smashed with garlic, green beans blistered in a pan that's older than I am. I set the table with cloth napkins and the good plates we only use when we pretend to be a different couple. I poured wine and didn't drink it. I lit a candle because I like the way fire makes a room honest. At 9:18, the key turned. Jude walked in with the face of a man who has practiced neutral. It always cracks somewhere small. Tonight it was his mouth too pressed. "Smells amazing," he said. He kissed my hair. "You're a saint. Today was insane." "Sit," I said. I smiled with my teeth. He sat. I served. He talked. Work, traffic, a joke about his boss. He avoided my eyes like they were a test he hadn't studied for. After 2 bites, I said, "Jude, who is B?" He blinked. That's the thing about direct questions. You can hear the body hit them. "B?" "The woman on our porch," I said, voice even. "Last Thursday. Foreheads. Next Tuesday. My sweater." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. The first try was a deflection. "Why are you watching the camera?" The second try was a blame. "You're invading my privacy." The third try was the one nervous people think will work because it has the word just in it. "She's just a friend." "Friends don't wear my clothes," I said. "And if they do, they ask. In my kitchen, not on my porch at 11:16 p.m. He reached for my hand. I moved it to my lap. He looked hurt, the way toddlers look hurt when you take the lid off a marker and hand it back, surprised that the rules exist even when they aren't convenient. "Okay," he said, sighing like a saint with shin splints. "Okay, her name is Bianca. We met months ago. It's not—" He searched for a word that would make me small. "It's not serious." "I am," I said. We sat with that. The candle guttered, the chicken cooled. I could hear the radiator hiss, the neighbor's TV laugh track through thin walls. I wanted to scream. I didn't. I wanted to throw the plate. I didn't. I wanted to force him to pick a story and stick to it so at least I would know the costume of the lie. I didn't want to be an actor in something I didn't audition for, so I staged my own scene. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, gentle enough to make the words sharp. "I'm not going to perform a meltdown for you so you can point at it and say, 'See? This is why.' I'm not going to ask you to pick me. I'm not a fruit stand. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing." He waited. People think control is talking louder. It's not. It's choosing sentences. "I met with a lawyer," I said. "I opened my own account. I've scheduled a locksmith for Friday at 9. You can be here to hand over your keys, or you can leave them on the counter and text me when you're gone. We will separate finances. We will sell the house, or I'll buy out your share. We will be polite in public and exact on paper." He stared at me like I had turned into math. "A lawyer?" "Yes," I said. "They are very good at boring, and boring is what this needs." He laughed in that ugly way that fills the room with chalk dust. "Overreacting." I tilted my head. "Jude, the doorbell camera recorded you whispering plans to meet your girlfriend on my porch while I slept in a house I pay for. If anything, this is underreacting." He said my name like it was a leash. I shook it off. He did the apology tour. Tears that didn't land. Promises shaped like fog. It didn't mean anything. That line always makes me wonder why people choose nothings over their lives. "It meant enough to do it on Tuesday," I said. He ate another bite, as if chewing could buy him time. He said, What if I end it?" The way he said "it" was the way someone says subscription. "What if you don't?" I said. "What if you do for 3 weeks and then you don't again? What if we turn my body into a siren that goes off whenever your phone dings? What if we mistake exhaustion for forgiveness?" He put his fork down. "So that's it. That's it," I said. "Unless you have something else to confess that would change the direction but not the destination." He didn't. Or he did and couldn't find words big enough to carry it. He slept on the couch. I slept in our bed and didn't say our in my head. In the morning, I made coffee, put 1 mug on a tray, and took it to the porch. I sat on the top step and watched the street wake up. The whistling mail carrier, the jogger with knees wrapped in neon tape, the kid who drags his backpack like it wronged him. The doorbell pinged when a squirrel jumped onto the railing. I opened the app and scrolled to last Thursday, to the moment that had split the week in 2. I watched it again, not because I doubted, but because repetition turns chaos into film. Then I tapped save and sent the clip to an email I made the night before, a folder with a plain name and a password he doesn't know. Not for revenge, for remembrance. People will rust the truth if you leave it in the weather. On Friday at 8:58, the locksmith van pulled up. 2 minutes later, Jude's car did too. He looked small in our driveway. He always looked big to me because love is a magnifying glass you think is a window. He handed over his keys without speaking. The locksmith changed the locks with a rhythm that made me think of metronomes and heartbeats and the way time keeps its own rules. When it was done, the new keys were warm in my palm. Jude asked, "Is there anything I can say?" "Yes," I said, surprising both of us. "Say it to yourself. Say, I chose this, not because I didn't love her, but because I loved the attention of someone who had to whisper. Say, secrets felt like magic until the light came on. Say, I thought honesty was a risk, but not telling the truth wasn't safety. It was lottery tickets with rent money. Say it in the mirror until you don't need to say it anymore." He looked at me the way people look at churches they don't believe in, wishing for a feeling. Then he left. I ate alone that night, and it was beautiful. Not the food, cereal in a bowl chipped on the rim, but the quiet that didn't have to be measured against a lie. For a few weeks, I felt a ghost at the edges of rooms. That happens when you rearrange the furniture of your life. You bump into air where a chair used to be. Every time the doorbell pinged, my chest tightened, then loosened as a neighbor waved or a package thumped onto the mat. I started saving the pings that made me smile. The teenager practicing a dance in our reflection, the neighbor's new puppy miscalculating the step down, the sunset that turned the lens pink for 6 seconds in a row. Bianca texted me once from an unknown number. I didn't know he was lying. "I'm sorry." I wrote back, then make different choices with that knowledge. Good luck. It wasn't kindness and it wasn't cruelty. It was a period. I sold the house a month later and moved into an apartment with light that makes you forgive mornings. The super fixed the oven knob on the first try. I bought a smaller table that only fits the number of people who actually show up. I hung the doorbell camera anyway. Not because I was waiting, but because I like proof. Sometimes at night, I play the clip of the mail carrier whistling and let it loop like a song. I think about the first time I pressed play on something I didn't want to see and how that too was love, just not the kind that keeps you trapped, the kind that lets you open a door, step through, and lock it behind you without feeling like a villain in your own story. If you're where I was, standing very still in your kitchen, listening for a sound you can't name, install what you need to see, believe what you record, and when the proof arrives, don't audition for a part in someone else's lie. Write your own scene, choose your own line. Walk to your porch in the morning with coffee and a chipped bowl, and breathe air that doesn't have to ask permission to be honest.